don't want a useless old woman around while I'm pregnant," Chelsea said flatly, never even lifting her eyes from her phone as she delivered the words like they meant nothing. I looked at my son, Brian. He didn't defend me. He didn't hesitate. He simply nodded in agreement. Something inside me cracked sharp and final like glass shattering against concrete. "You should find another place to live, Mom," Brian added, his tone disturbingly calm, as if he were commenting on the weather instead of telling his 64-year-old mother she was no longer welcome in her own son's home. If you're watching this, go ahead and subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Now, here's the backstory. 6 months earlier, I had sold my beautiful 3-bedroom home to help Brian and Chelsea with their down payment. "It's only temporary, Mom," Brian had promised. "Just until we get on our feet." Apparently, their version of getting on their feet meant pushing me aside the moment I became inconvenient. I'd been living in their converted garage for half a year. I paid rent. I cooked their meals. I did their laundry. While they saved money, I supported them. I even helped with the electrical work and flooring when we converted the garage, skills I'd picked up during 30 years of fixing things alongside my late husband. Chelsea's pregnancy hadn't been easy, and I'd been genuinely happy to help. I thought I was being useful. Turns out, I was just being used. "Where exactly am I supposed to go?" I asked, proud that my voice didn't tremble. Chelsea finally looked up. Her eyes were cold, detached. "That's not really our problem, Dorothy. We need the space for the baby's nursery." Brian shifted uncomfortably. "There are senior communities, Mom. Nice places. You'll meet people your own age." Apparently, 64 meant I was ancient, ready to be put out to pasture. I raised Brian alone after his father walked out. I worked 2 jobs. I missed sleep. I sacrificed everything to give him opportunities. And this was my reward. Being discarded like an old appliance that had outlived its usefulness. But here's the thing about being underestimated your entire life. You learn to keep your cards close to your chest. And oh, I had cards they didn't know about. "Fine," I said calmly. "I'll be out by the weekend." Chelsea smirked, convinced she'd won. Brian looked relieved. Neither of them noticed the small, satisfied smile playing at the corners of my mouth as I walked back to the garage. 3 days later, I signed a lease on a cozy downtown apartment. Nothing extravagant, but it was mine. As I packed my few belongings, I couldn't help but chuckle when the moving truck arrived and I saw their stunned faces. "You found a place that fast?" Brian asked, genuine shock in his voice. "Amazing what you can accomplish when you're motivated," I replied sweetly. What they didn't know was that I'd been planning my exit strategy from the moment Chelsea started treating me like hired help. That apartment wasn't a backup plan. It was an upgrade. And the financial arrangements I'd quietly been making behind the scenes, those were about to become their problem. Moving day arrived with warm spring sunshine, the kind that makes everything feel possible. As the movers loaded my modest belongings, I caught Chelsea watching from the kitchen window, her face twisted with something that looked suspiciously like regret. Too little, too late. Brian appeared beside me as I got into my car. "Mom, maybe we were hasty. If you want to stay." "No, thank you, dear," I interrupted gently. "You made your position clear. I wouldn't want to be a burden." The guilt was setting in now. Good. Let it simmer. My new apartment was everything their garage wasn't: bright, clean, peaceful, and entirely mine. No more tiptoeing around Chelsea's moods. No more pretending I didn't hear her complaining about me on the phone. I was unpacking books when my phone rang. "Dorothy Mitchell." "Yes, this is Sarah Chen from Hudson Properties. Your references checked out perfectly. Mr. Hudson is very pleased to have you as our new property manager." I smiled and settled into my armchair. Wonderful. When would he like to start inspections? "Tomorrow, if you're available. He's particularly interested in a property on Maple Street. 1247 Maple Street." My heart danced. 1247 Maple Street was Brian and Chelsea's address. "Oh yes," I said smoothly. "I'm very familiar with that property." After hanging up, I poured myself a glass of wine and raised it to my reflection. Here's to new beginnings. What my ungrateful family didn't know was that I'd been in contact with Will Hudson for weeks. He was a property developer with a very specific vision: buying homes, renovating neighborhoods, and transforming entire blocks. When I mentioned my situation, his interest in that address had been immediate. "Prime location," he'd said. "Perfect for our next project." I'd been honest. Mostly. I may have mentioned the unpermitted garage conversion. I may have emphasized how overwhelmed the owners seemed. I may have pointed out how much updating the property needed. Will offered me a job: property inspector and acquisition consultant. Decent pay, flexible hours, and a quiet sense of justice. That night, I slept peacefully in my own bed. Tomorrow, I'd start my new career, and by next week, Brian and Chelsea would learn exactly what happens when you throw away the person protecting you from consequences you never saw coming.